Hello, my name is Alexander War. This is week 13 of this backend software development course at Promineo Tech. This week was the first week of SpringBoot, and it consisted of quite a bit of typing, mostly just making the bare bones for the Open API, compiling the database that we'll be drawing from, making sure we could connect with that database, and ensuring that we wrote a unit test. So I'm going to briefly go over all of them. We won't really have enough time to go in depth, but I'm going to briefly go over the basic idea of what each of them are going to do. Then we're going to run the test, and then we're going to boot up the Open API, see if it works on Swagger. So the basic method that we'll be running is extremely simple. It's just a Spring application, and it's running Jeep sales class and the arguments. Now, we went ahead and made a test, which we'll run. And this is a Spring Boot test, which is a little bit different than a JUnit test, in that this will be pulling up on the Open API. So this is what we'll be seeing when we run the API. While we populated a lot of the objects that we'll be using, most of them are empty and haven't been fleshed out to communicate with the database yet. However, for testing reasons, we went ahead and populated Jeep model with the models that are available from the database, and that will fulfill our test requirement. So what that test will be doing is it'll be testing to see if there is a Jeep model wrangler and ensuring that when we pull from the database that it pulls back to see if Wrangler has a sport option. Now we know it does because we made the database. This will just ensure that the code does in fact pull the way we want it to pull from the database. Now we're going to go ahead and run this. So as you can see, that's run. 0 errors, 0 failures. Now to add to this, we've created the interface controller, which gives us our common errors / API responses that we will test based on. So 200 is, a positive thing. It's not necessarily an error code, it's a positive response. You did in fact get what you were looking for. 400 means that the parameters are invalid, meaning that you put in something incorrect. 404 specifically means that even though the parameters may have been of a valid form, nothing of that type was found within the database. And 500 is basically a catch-all for any unplanned errors that occur outside of that. For the testing purposes, we're looking at Wrangler and Sport, so we're putting in those two parameters. And then what this will do is it'll fetch the Jeep based on the model and the trim. Alright, easy enough. Now, we're going to go ahead and run this. We're going to run it as a Spring Boot app. You'll see the Spring logo. It'll tell you which port it's decided to use. As you can see, it pulled up the basic API. Now obviously this isn't pretty, and it's missing a lot of information, but it has the codes that we wanted it to return. as the code that it did return with Wrangler and string. That concludes my project. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.